and welcome to the Cryptonaut podcast. My name is Mark Storrs, and hanging out with me, as always, Mr. Robert Thomas Morphy the second, and Mr. Christopher Carnicelli.
Yes.
What's happening, guys?
Hanging out.
Back in the metaverse again.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think before we get started, I think maybe we should put a call out to all of our, witchy, mystical, healing powers, crystal people, and see if we can't get them to focus their energy on Rob.
Oh, bless their hearts.
I don't know what you got to do with the crystal. I don't know where you got to put it, but just do something and focus it on Robert. And then once you focus it on Robert, I want you to get like some cool amulet and like focus it on Christopher at the same time. And then we're going to be dual focusing beams of energy and healing on your souls.
Wow. I like that.
Okay.
Send an email. If you're going to do that, send an email. Cryptonautpodcast@gmail.com. We'll let you know if it works or if you kill one of them. We'll see.
That's fair. Either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heal or death.
Heal or die.
There's no in between.
No.
I mean, all I've got is a head cold. I'm not like at death's door. It's just like a nonstop onslaught lately. But
ever since you got COVID, my friend, you have been just dog shit dying, man.
No, it's ever since I got
good.
strep for the first time.
Oh, that's right. That's
then
where
I
all
got
this.
double strep. Then I got hospitalized. Then I got the vid and all sorts of head colds and shit since.
Double stenosis, dude. It's fucked up.
Double stenosis.
Fucking triple stenosis, dog. Shit. Well, anyway,
Dang.
we're here.
All right.
We are.
We're doing it. Cryptonaut Podcast. Thank you all so very much for joining us. This sounds like a fun episode we got this week, boys. Episode 288, Hell Riders of the Outback.
Oh, hell yes.
A little Mad Max here, maybe a little Crocodile Dundee.
Neither.
Oh, okay.
Maybe no, it's not true exactly. A smidge of Mad Max.
Okay,
A
excellent.
smidge, just a pinchins.
A pension.
I'll
like
take it.
that. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get started with, in one of the most remote regions on Earth, the Australian Outback, a motorcycle police officer would have an encounter with a pair of inexplicable entities and their hella sweet ride, which would leave him forever questioning the nature of reality.
The fuck is going on? Up is
Dude.
down, buddies are dogs. The world is messed up now.
You're in the Australian Outback and shit just got real, dog.
Yeah.
Hella sweet rides. I like it.
By virtue of their jobs, law enforcement officers are compelled to go into some of the most dangerous, desolate, and isolated areas the world has to offer. It should therefore come as no surprise that there is a long tradition of police officers having more than their fair share of run-ins with the paranormal. These life-changing experiences, which are often concealed until the experiencer is long retired, run the gamut from UFO sightings to cryptid encounters to confrontations with malignant phantasmal fiends. But it should come as no surprise to our listeners that there are a few cases that go beyond the already odd parameters of traditionally paranormal arenas, and travel into places so strange that we are collectively left perplexed by the implications. This is one such account. According to Mr. Black, on the always informative Beyond Creepy YouTube channel, paranormal investigator Sean Danny Kisdani, yes, that is his name and that is wonderful.
Yep, I'm in.
Fucking awesome.
Author of the multi-volume series Eerie Tales, a collection of true ghost stories from around the world, received a unique report in the early 2000s from a former Australian police officer who asked to be identified only as Terrence. Now retired, Terrence felt that it was finally time to come clean about a bizarre incident that occurred while he was on patrol in the open, wild, sparsely populated region known as the Outback. Legendary to everyone across the world. Everyone knows about the Outback, and it's not a fucking steakhouse. It's an awesomely huge, mysterious place, and it's a steakhouse.
Yeah, Outback Steakhouse, dude. I love it.
That's the closest thing we have to the Outback is a steakhouse.
That's true.
Honestly, it is. And is Outback Steakhouse at all remotely Australian themed? I've been there, but I'm always drunk, so
I've never actually been to one. I don't know. I assume it has to be. Like, I'm sure they have a didgeridoo and a boomerang somewhere. But I don't
honestly
fucking know.
I'm always hammered.
Yeah, I have
when
no
I'm
idea.
there. I've never
been there once.
Never been there sober.
Either way.
All right.
Unfortunately, neither Kisdani nor Terrence's accounts offered up any specific date for or location of the incident in question. That means we can't be sure exactly where within this vast stretch of land this event took place, though I have some ideas. As to the time frame, however, we can narrow that down to a relatively recent date, as in his account, Terrence claimed that he was on patrol riding a BMW R1150 RT police bike, which was launched in 2001, meaning that the encounter had to take place on an afternoon sometime during the 21st century. Beyond that, we can only guess.
It's a nice wide breath of time.
Okay, nailed it down to a century. Perfect.
You got to a century.
Well, I mean, but we're only, 23 years into that century. So,
Yeah.
20 within the last 22 years.
I like it.
According to Terrence, he was cruising through a remote area of the Outback when the dust on his bike and visor became so thick that he decided to pull over and clean up. This caking of dust might indicate that he was patrolling an inhospitably arid region of the Outback known as the Red Center, rather than one of the more temperate or tropical areas. Though, again, this is just a speculation. The officer turned down the first adjacent road he came across, finding himself on a quiet, tree-lined street. He knocked the dirt off his visor, took a sip of water, and drizzled some onto his gear to clean it off. With his own engine now cut, Terrence heard the faint sounds of a roaring engine coming from down at the far end of the otherwise empty, tree-lined road. Intrigued and perhaps a little bored, the lawman slipped on his helmet and decided to go investigate the noise. This would be something that he would come to regret, needless to say.
Classic.
You know that's bound to happen in this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
well,
You're
yeah.
dealing with us.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah. Peeling down the road, the peace officer could hear the scream of the distant engine eclipsing even that of his own motorcycle. As he came to a bend, Terrence spied a raised earth berm, approximately 7 feet high, rising up above his head, adjacent to the dirt-caked road. He assumed it was reserved housing estate land, and even though he couldn't see beyond, he knew that the almost feral roar of the heavy engine was coming from the plateau just beyond the ridge. This assumption was confirmed by the thick, heavy swirls of red dust that were floating skyward. So he's just hearing the roar, seeing the dust, knowing the action's right over the edge. Committed to finding the source of the dust-spitting, ear-splitting sound, Terrence struggled to climb up the nearly vertical slope, digging his hands into the soft earth to pull himself up over the ledge. Hefting himself over the precipice, the officer caught sight of the offending vehicle. It was a dust-smothered, jet-black 1953 Chevy using all of its 115 horsepower engine to rip dust-spewing donuts on the dry dirt floor.
Yeah, nice.
All right.
Donuts in the desert. I love it.
Getting after it.
Fuck yeah.
At first, Terrence was less perturbed by the hellacious antics of the driver and more concerned that he'd stumbled upon someone who may have had a heart attack and slumped over the wheel with their weight bearing down on the accelerator. At this point, he was about 170 feet away from the spinning vehicle, and the swirling dust clouds combined with the sun's glare on the windshield prevented him from seeing inside. Perplexed and just a little disturbed, Terrence watched as the car continued to carve circles in the dehydrated dirt. He knew that if the driver was awake, he would be able to not only see him, but clearly recognize him as an officer of the law. Nevertheless, the Chevy continued to speed up and spin out with no evident concern for the authority figure watching its every move. Terrence waved wildly at the driver, shouting to get his attention, though his voice was overwhelmed by the metal behemoth. It then occurred to the patrolman that the driver might have been shot and, as in the heart attack scenario, may have been unconscious and unable to lift his foot from the gas pedal.
Just
The
not,
more he what? Go ahead.
They're just like not doing sweet donuts. There's clearly something medical happening. Like,
I
oh
like
God,
that-
they were shot.
He's shot
Yeah, of all things.
in the middle of the Outback.
Just the random
Well, I
bullet.
mean, that's a
man.
great place to shoot somebody. They're never going to find the body. So that's prime time murder place, I'd imagine, just like the Vegas desert. Or
Yeah, but just like that's, I mean, like in the car, like assassinated. What do you mean?
I mean, he clearly must be thinking like this person would not be doing this for no reason other than there could possibly be a medical
A
emergency.
metal, right.
I do like the fact that his default response, unlike a lot of, jaded law officers, is not that it's like hooligans, but that it's like somebody that might have a real medical emergency. But I don't know. Is there a certain kind of donut you can do that seems more like an emergency donut and less like the frolicking kind?
That's what I'm
not sure.
Like, it's just, you're just
I've never
ripping
seen
donuts. Like,
never seen danger donuts, so I don't know. I've only seen the fun kind.
Dude, heart attack donuts, dude.
Well, I guess there's the consistent pressure on the accelerator donut as opposed to just
That's true.
the adjusting to like when you're doing a turn to get into doing it again.
So maybe this was the heavy-footed, constant circling kind that had him alarmed.
Possible stroke. We don't know.
Right.
We just don't know.
No, we don't.
Right. Political assassination. Jason Bourne shit out in the Outback for no reason.
Got JFK'd in the Outback. Ooh.
Or, maybe I'm like a mob hit or something. I don't know much about the Australian mob, but I know every civilization has organized crime, so I'm assuming it's pretty prevalent. But either way, this Terrence is worried about the man or woman behind the wheel, and that's good on him. But that's about to change. The more he watched, however, the more convinced he became that the vehicle was maneuvering in a way that indicated a fully aware driver. Terrence came to the conclusion that he was dealing with a hoon. Care to know what a hoon is, guys?
Yeah, what's that?
That is Australian slang for an individual who deliberately drives in a reckless or dangerous manner in order to provoke a reaction from onlookers.
Like Fast and Furious kids?
They're all hoons.
They're all
Pile of hoons.
Pile of hoons.
The Rock, he's a hoon. Vin Diesel, hoon.
He gave up the medical thing, and now he's like, okay, it's a jerk.
He's on the hoon. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this person is not having a medical emergency, good sir. They are a standard hoon.
The officer figured that this ne'er-do-well had likely gotten drunk, stolen a car, and decided to drive it into the dirt in some remote region before abandoning it when it broke down or ran out of gas. If so, this hoon was perpetrating a crime, oblivious to the fact that he was now doing so under the keen eyes of the law. Understanding that being open and exposed put him at a distinct disadvantage, Terrence nevertheless realized that it was time to stop speculating and to start investigating. To that end, he gathered his courage and began to approach the screaming, swirling vehicle. As Terrence drew closer, he noted that two extremely large, thin individuals with long, wild hair were occupying the two front seats of the Chevy. Although he was not sure why, the sight of these occupants caused an icy chill to run up his spine. At first, given their long hair, Terrence, evidently stuck in 1962, wondered if the driver and passenger might not be, in fact, very large women.
That's a large woman.
Boys don't have hair like that. That's silly talk.
That's awesome.
Said in my perfect Australian accent.
Yeah, no, nailed it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, that is a knife, sir.
Yes, indeed. This is a knife.
This is also a knife, but larger. Perfect. I'm like Crocodile Dundee all over.
You are. There you go. Thank you.
But all of this speculation was shoved to the back of his mind as the dirt-covered car screeched to a halt no less than 65 feet away from the officer. As the dust settled around the idling black Chevy, Terrence recalled that a sudden jolt of terror rippled through him, and he had to resist the urge to turn tail, run back down the ridge, and tear out of there on his bike. Letting his years of training take over, the lawman managed to suppress his fear and stand his ground. From this vantage, Terrence was still only able to make out the gangling silhouettes of the car's occupants. He ordered them to exit the vehicle, but neither figure moved nor gave any indication that they'd heard his command. Suddenly, the patrolman's fear was replaced by a flash of anger at their defiance, and he again barked at them to get out of the car. This time they complied. Though at first relieved that they were following his demands, the eyewitness would soon, and forever after, come to regret ever getting involved in this soon-to-be horrifying situation. And I apologize for my voice crackling like I'm Pete Brady. That's the head cold. Terrence watched as the two massive figures exited the vehicle. The men, whose faces bore no expression whatsoever, were absolutely identical in every way. They both stood nearly 7 feet tall with large but lanky frames. So they got that that weird, like that Undertaker height, but like that awkward thinness, but still broad. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. 7 foot's extremely noticeable.
Oh, yeah.
Like for sure.
They were clad in matching, ripped, mud-stained jeans, held up by duplicate leather belts. Stranger still, their disheveled shirts were sticking both in and out of their belt lines in completely corresponding patterns. Terrence almost certainly assumed he was looking at a pair of gangly yet gargantuan twin brothers, but their completely identical wardrobes were eldritch in the extreme. It was then that the officer focused in on the mirrored sunglasses that covered the twins' eyes, which he described by stating, quote, "I've never seen mirrored glasses that shine like them. They vary in their colors, sometimes blue, sometimes red, sometimes a shade of green," end quote. It was then that Terrence made note of a curious auditory phenomenon that only seemed to occur when the sun reflected off the polarized lenses. He continued, quote, "They even reflect a peculiar sound, a machine-like ringing sound. What makes it strange is that the ringing only happens when I see the glare of the sun in the mirrored lenses. The sound seems to come out from my own ears."
These are like these new Outback Extreme Pit Vipers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really weird thing. Like, I mean, I know there's like synesthesia where you see a color and you smell like a fucking Pop-Tart or something.
Yeah.
And so there's weird
Pop-Tart?
shit.
Yeah, blueberry Pop-Tart.
Exactly. But I don't know of anything where a reflection of light creates a sound, and then the sound seems to emanate from like your own ear rather than you hear it from the distance. So it's not like this weird tech where light hits it and it makes this weird mechanical ping. It's like echoing in your own. I guess it's just science I don't get, which makes sense because you know when you're dealing with weird shit, you know it's always science we don't get.
Next level pits, bro. Next
level pits. Exactly.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem fun to me, really.
No, I don't want to cause, irrational and unintentional ringing in strangers' ears.
That's the fun part, dude.
No, I've been dealing with this for like 6 months.
Shit, that's
Trust
right.
me.
Chris has.
It's not fun. It sucks.
No, sorry.
There it
My
is.
bad. My bad.
Yeah, way to go. Way to trigger. Way to trigger,
I'm
Mark.
not fucking you up with my pit vipers. They might help. You never know.
No, they may have caused it. for all I know.
Oh, man. I'll get a hold of my contact at Pit Viper and I'll see if this is what's going on. She'll let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe they can reverse engineer Pit Vipers.
There you go.
Could you imagine?
Take it away.
Could you imagine if Pit Vipers were reverse engineered from this?
Dude, you never know, man.
You never know.
Fucking
All
alien,
tech. Why does it only have to be UFOs? Why can't it be all sorts of shit?
Right.
alien tech, dude. There it is.
Perturbed by their eerily identical appearance and the odd ringing noise that seemed to come inexplicably from light reflections, Terrence had to once again rely on his training to maintain his composure. He desperately tried to keep the fear from showing on his face and resisted the urge to pull his weapon on the towering two. He was afraid they might see it as a threat and perhaps get back into the vehicle and attempt to do him bodily harm. And he'd walked so far onto the plateau that there was no guarantee he could make it back to the ridge before the Chevy ran him down. For a few seconds, this strange staring contest continued, without either side so much as moving a muscle or uttering a word. Then, without warning, the twins stepped away from the vehicle in unison. Terrence's heart sank as the two massive men were not only identical in appearance, but moved in complete sync as if they weren't individuals, but a mirror image of a single person.
Oh, shit. Is this going somewhere that I know very well, Bobby?
Oh, I think it is.
Oh, we got
And let us deal with that right now.
Mirror Man territory, dude.
Indeed. For the modern Fortean aficionado, this description should ring a familiar bell, as it is similar to a freaky phenomenon made famous by our good buddy on his internationally acclaimed and absolutely fabulous podcast, Monsters Among Us.
Mr. Derek Hayes.
MAU, Derek Hayes dubbed these curiously congruent creatures mirrored men. These enigmatic entities, for those who may not know, are pairs or more often trios of tall men, usually clad in out-of-date black suits, who precisely mirror each other's movements and appearance. Derek was the first to discover this phenomenon, and after sharing it with the world, he's received numerous additional reports from people who claim to have encountered these same beings. So it's amazing, it's like, I mean, to be the one that pioneers, and reports a brand new paranormal phenomenon, That's a
Yeah, for
huge
sure.
big check mark on your, credibility. That's mad street cred
Right.
in the fucking paranormal world. So, full ups to Derek Hayes and his extraordinary podcast. And again, it goes without saying, we're not going to digress too much. If you haven't listened, go to Monsters Among Us. Listen immediately. It's amazing. You're going to love it. So that having been said, obviously, there's an analogy here, to a degree anyway. But back to the Outback. Terrence could not help but to wonder if these rangy rascals were taunting him. If perhaps they'd worked out a routine wherein they would mimic each other's movements just to play hell with whomever was looking at them. But he quickly realized that each of their motions were far too precise to have been merely choreographed. It was then that, to the officer's chagrin, these mammoth and evidently monozygotic men began to walk towards him with their arms held stiffly at their sides. Terrence ordered them to raise their hands and freeze, but they paid no more heed than they had when driving and continued to advance in steady, creepily synchronized steps. Terrence described the moment, quote, "Even though they are not carrying weapons, I feel nervous, and I tremble with every step they take closer to me. Since they haven't stopped, I feel no other choice but to draw my weapon, and I do." So now he's got the gun out.
No.
Finally, he's committed to
Man.
action. Not committed, but, open to it. Because if you're going to draw it, you got to be prepared to use it.
Oh, shit.
Obviously unconcerned with the prospect of being gunned down, the monolithic men continued their slow approach. Suddenly, the twins stepped away from one another, moving at opposite angles in an apparent effort to walk around the revolver-bearing lawman. Each step identical to the others. Since they were evidently unarmed, and because he doubted he would be able to defend himself if they both decided to simultaneously attack, Terrence decided to make no effort to stop them. At this point, the men were walking next to the officer at a distance of about 30 feet, their oddly mirrored lenses facing him the whole time. Then, as the men passed, they turned their faces away from Terrence as if utterly unconcerned with him or his firearm. For some reason, this clear dismissal of the legal authority that he and his badge represented usurped his fear and enraged Terrence. Despite the potential dangers, the officer once again ordered the indistinguishable pair to stop. When they again ignored his command, the policeman began to wonder if the hellions might not be deaf, as surely no one in their right mind could remain that nonchalant regarding their own self-preservation. So, unless you're drug-addled, mad, or simply can't hear, as Terrence is speculating at this point.
Yeah.
And I love the way this guy's, he's going to think out of the box. You had a heart attack, you died, you got shot by Oswald, single shooter,
There you go.
depository, whatever it is, he's going to go down different routes.
Yeah, and they don't care that he's drawn his firearm at all. They just like walking around him like,
they're just
yeah,
like,
whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to put a big red fucking flag right there, boys.
Unwilling to either shoot or chase the subjects down, Terrence could only watch as these homogeneous humanoids continued to walk up the slope that he had ascended just minutes before. Growing more aggravated by the moment, the officer was ready to take things to the next, potentially tragic level, but what happened next would leave the veteran lawman in a state of gut-sick shock, so profound it was as if the floor of reality itself had dropped out from beneath him, leaving him floating in a void of uncertainty. Is that clear enough? Shit gets crazy.
Is this where the strangeness gets high?
Yeah.
420 strangeness, dudes.
There it is, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
As the lanky twins reached the edge of the plateau, they stopped and, in perfect synchronicity, turned their heads to look at one another. Terrence described what happened next. Quote, "They are in coordination no matter what they do. Then their heads turn, just the heads, not the bodies. I get ready to shout, 'Get on the ground,' but they do something that shoots icy arrows up my spine. Their heads have turned as much as any human head can turn, but they don't stop there. Their heads turn some more. They now have turned 180 degrees, but they still don't stop. Their heads have turned a complete circle, 360 degrees. These men can't be humans. I scream in my head."
Oh, they got weird full twisty head.
Yeah, I mean, at that point,
Yeah, I mean,
I feel
Do
like
you
I leave. I feel like I just leave.
is that reason to shoot?
Or is that reason absolutely not to shoot? Because who the fuck knows what you're dealing with at this point?
Could be angels. You're right.
Could be androids. Angels. Or androids.
Oh,
Play our new game show.
Angels and isn't that Tom DeLonge's band? Angels and
is it?
Androids.
No, I think it's Angels and Airwaves. I know.
Slothy. Yeah, 360 degrees. I think I'm.
Admitting that you're screaming in your head, that silent head scream. I don't think. I mean, I've been in some pretty rough situations, but I don't think I've ever gone quite that far. I've definitely gotten loud in my head and been very anxious and almost panic stricken, or during tragedies, God knows what. But to scream in your head from sheer terror, that's got to be a whole new place, especially when you're just like you're a cop, you're just riding the beat, doing what you do in the Outback, and then you're not accustomed to that. You're accustomed to some dark shit, no doubt, but you're not expecting anything like this. And when that fucks up the way you perceive the entire world, I mean, that's just, it's got to be earth shattering, beyond disassociative, beyond anything you can normally diagnose.
Especially being like in a position of authority, where you're like, oh shit, this means nothing now. Like everything that I have right here doesn't matter. The badge, they don't care about the badge. They don't care about the gun. His head just turned a complete 360. Like, now what?
No, you're right.
It's kind of funny if you think about it.
You actually illustrated the point
maybe
that I didn't even really think about that much, which is for a lot of people in authority. I'm not gonna say it extends to everyone. Certainly, if you're a law enforcement officer out there, don't think I'm in any way pigeonholing you. But for a lot of the ones I've known personally, that badge is very representative of who they are. That's not just a symbol, and it's certainly not just a job. It's like emblematic of like a calling and what they're doing. And so to have all of those ideas about what you represent and the force behind it, like once upon a time being a citizen of Rome was like so epic that you just had to say civis Romanus and people would be like, oh no, I'm not going to fuck with you. Like to be a part of that thin blue line, as it were, or whatever color khaki it may be, and to have suddenly, like you say, it doesn't matter. They don't care about your gun. They don't care about your badge. They don't care about anything you're representing. Oh, and by the way, they are capable of things that human beings aren't, and massive on top of it, and mirrored, so that makes them further inhuman. It's so many levels of who you are and what you think of reality being stolen from you at the same time that it must be incredibly debilitating.
And what's funny about it, the big kicker here is all they did was just turn their head around 360. It's not like anything super nuts. They didn't sprout wings, shoot fire, have enormous dicks, like fucking shoot.
Right. Well, you don't know that.
I'm assuming they have
shooting
enormous
swords.
dicks.
They got giant dicks shooting swords at you with bat wings coming out of their ass. Like there's nothing super nuts other than laser beams. Just fucking just head turns 360, and all of a sudden this guy's like, fuck my life. This sucks.
It's funny.
That's the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
Right. But it's funny that, we live in a world, obviously. What's this, episode 285 you were saying?
288.
288. And God knows how many Patreons, that, we're so used to this that, spinning heads don't mean shit. It's like we literally just a couple episodes were dealing with flying, fungal growing, human skulls with bat wings. And it's like, all right, that's some crazy shit. We just got to deal with that. And Lumber Joe and fucking ring-headed what's all. And this is whatever. This seems like positively prosaic by comparison. But to see this, even for people like us with our own eyes, it would definitely end a serious chapter in your life and begin a new one. Whether it was worse, better, just different, I guess it depends on how well you can tolerate that shit, but it definitely starts a new chapter in your existence and the way you look at the world.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, let's see what happens with our buddy Terry here.
Mm-hmm. I know. I want to call him Terry every time.
Terry. What up, Terry?
The sight of this clearly inhuman exhibition proved to be too much for the lawman, who immediately felt as if the wind were knocked out of him. Quote, "My knees jellify, and I hit the ground. My face is numb, and my jaw hangs loosely as my vision spirals. With absolute indifference to a nervous gun pointed at their backs, the spindly giants calmly walk down the slope and disappear behind the dirt horizon. Seeing them gone, I am able to breathe again. And then he adds, in the midst of the excitement, I had forgotten about the Chevy. Grateful to at least have recovered what he assumed was a stolen vehicle, and perhaps hopeful that there might be some evidence inside to offer some sort of explanation, or failing that, at least corroboration of his bizarre encounter, Terrence, still on his knees, turned to look back at the car. To his shock, and what will no doubt be to our savvy listeners' expectation, the 53 Chevy was nowhere to be seen.
Oh, man.
Of course it's nowhere. It's just gone. Of course.
Because why would it still be there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Son of a bitch.
Okay.
No, there's the evidence. Fuck.
He'd heard no roar of an engine, so he knew it wasn't as if some hidden accomplice had managed to drive it away while his attention had been diverted. It had been there moments before, and now it simply wasn't. All that remained were spiral tire tracks etched into the baked dirt and the slow swirling scarlet dust that lingered in the air.
Oh, man. It blasted into the next dimension.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
With this second mystifying revelation, Terrence was suddenly overcome by the urge to vomit. The officer closed his eyes and doubled over, and within seconds the nausea passed. It would be then that high strangeness would once again rear its ugly, illogical head. After just a few seconds of pain, Terrence opened his eyes to see that it was now the dead of night. He had not passed out. He'd been alert during the entire brief wave of nausea, but somehow, incomprehensibly, it had gone from the bright sun of midday to the Stygian blackness of night. Confounded, the officer wondered to himself, quote, God, how long have I been kneeling here like this? He knew in his mind that only a few seconds had elapsed, yet somehow it was many hours later. What had happened? Who or what had managed to steal this time away from him? And perhaps more disturbingly, what had happened during those missing hours? These gnawing, lingering questions would have no satisfactory answers. And as far as I'm aware, there have been no reports indicating that Terrence had undergone hypnotic regression. As cautious as one must be when dealing with the results of a hypnotic session, it would nevertheless be fascinating to hear what Terrence experienced, or believed he experienced, during those terrible blank hours after the head-spinning twins apparently took their leave.
What's interesting about that, though, is the missing time is one of the key, well, sometimes, more often than not, one of the key features of the mirrored men, that when they show up and you see them, all of a sudden, boom, you got missing time. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and you were telling me, too, because I was picking your brain about it earlier, that even though I didn't tell you why I was picking your brain about it, that in mirrored men cases, sometimes people get like a psychic flash warning, like, don't look at me.
Yeah.
Turn your
look
fucking
away,
head, punk.
Don't look. Yeah. And sometimes there's 2 or 3, depending on the case. There's been known to be three on occasion. So, oh man, got missed. This is awesome. I mean, this is our first mirrored men case.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it technically has to fit under that umbrella,
No.
even if it's a tiny child's umbrella with like rabbit ears on it or something.
Oh yeah, little tiny umbrella.
Baby brella.
Yeah.
It's our baby mirror umbrella.
Fuck yeah, dude.
It's a poncho.
Oh, do we have drug rugs? Is that what we got?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus
Sweet.
Christ. What are they called? Bahas? I
Drug
haven't seen
rugs.
one of them since the 80s. I don't think 90s maybe.
Dude, it's a drug rug, dude.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
We get it, Mark. It's a drug rug.
Yep. We know.
You guys totally had them, right?
No. Christ. no.
Really?
No.
What,
Jesus
Bajas
Christ.
or ponchos?
Both.
I never had a Baja. I own
Never.
ponchos.
I
in my
totally had a Baja.
Yeah, I'd assume Chris had to have one.
Yeah. No, I didn't like, rough threads on my flesh, nor did I
Really?
particularly want people to like.
No, I didn't
drugs
either,
for me.
but I found like a neon green one, and it was like the color of like Newport green.
Oh,
Dude,
It was green, white,
it was a
and like
mentholated Baja. What could you
Yeah.
do? You had to own it.
I got it to State Fair, man. At like the probably
course you did.
Chinese made Bajas. Probably they were like $10 or some shit. It was green, white, and black. I'm like, I'm totally buying this fucking Baja.
Dude, it's
I
the
cannot blame
Newport Baja. That's awesome, dude.
I mean, not officially, but it was, so I bought it.
I miss when you used to be able to smoke cigarettes and get the points from the Marlboros, and you could get like a raft or like a jacket. Like
Yeah.
and everyone's dad proudly wore one. Like, I got my Marlboro racing jacket.
Everything. Windbreaker.
Yeah, I wonder if they have like
little
Marlboro,
cooler,
like,
yeah.
like a Marlboro Baja, just the color of the Marb, like the
I'm
white,
sure
the
they
white and
did.
red, like the gold accents, dude.
When they did everything, like pancake mix, like dumb shit. Like,
I
how do you have this? Why
I
do you have
remember,
this?
I remember the raft from like the Winston catalog. You could get the raft.
Yeah, oh,
Like,
yeah.
Where am I going with this? And it was a solid raft too, man. I mean, you had to smoke like I don't know how many hundreds of packs of butts to get it, but
Yeah, black lung your way down the river.
yeah, dude, fucking lung cancer yourself into a fucking ravine. It's fine. It's no big deal.
Yeah, you get the whole camping stuff. They had like tents.
Yeah,
Fucking. They probably had meat, beef, fucking
beef sticks.
yeah, burger, Marlboro burger.
Oh, give me one of them Marlboro burgers. God damn it. Slow smoked. All right, back to it here. Robert, we got some mirrored men in the Outback. Let's finish her up, my guy.
Understandably unnerved, Terrence got to his feet and made his way back to his still, thankfully, waiting motorbike and left the area post-haste. Like many of his fellow law enforcement officers worldwide who'd had truly freaky encounters with unfathomable beings, Terrence's desire to get to the bottom of his run-in and to see if he was the only one who had encountered these terrifying twins paled before his desire, to avoid ridicule and maintain his respected status among his peers and superiors in the police force. It was because of these concerns that Terrence never uttered so much as a word of his experience until after he retired, and even then under an abbreviated or perhaps assumed name. It's sad, but the stigma of the unknown, though loosening a bit in military and academic circles, at least in terms of ufological reports, remains as strong as ever in the area of law enforcement. So what are we to make of Terrence's extraordinary brush with the unknown? Were these aliens going for a joyride in the desert? Perhaps the ghosts of improbably tall twins who rolled the Chevy back in '62, who occasionally burst out of hell to do donuts in the Outback for old time's sake? Or are we dealing with something else? An intelligence that's harder to pin down and refuses to conveniently fit into the standard tropes trotted out by ufologists, cryptozoologists, parapsychologists, or theologians, whose worldviews are often limited to their particular area of expertise. Could it be that there are just some beings whose existence, agenda, and origin remain a total mystery, who, like so many other of us red-blooded, earthbound entities, just want to blow off some steam by tearing ass through the desert in a classic car for no better reason than the sheer hell of it? I hope so. And that's our story.
Oh, yeah, there it is, dude. Hell Riders of the Outback. Yeah, this has classic Mirrored Men vibes to it. Now, obviously, the Mirrored Men, occasionally they're seen with like frog like type features in their face and like
distended
mouths,
rounds, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean sometimes they kind of dress like the Men in Black, where they've got like a black suit or like a cool like cloak or something like this. But they're obviously like this story here. There are other instances of them being seen wearing, whatever type of.
And I've also heard of encounters. I've actually interviewed somebody, and maybe someday we'll get to this, where they saw gargoyle-like demonic entities that were mirror imaging their movements as they were stalking her.
Okay.
So it doesn't.
Mirror
It's not
gargoyles.
limited to just humanoids.
No, but this phenomenon in particular is one of my favorites from our good buddy Mr. Derek Hayes over there at Monsters
Hell
Among Us. I love
yes.
when he gets those calls, and it's awesome. So yeah, I guess let's start strictly here with skeptical, not high strangeness, misinterpretation. What could this have been?
Okay. What could this have been?
I mean,
super high, very big, giving no fucks, outback rednecks or whatever they're called down there, hoons, who were just fucking having a good time in Pappy's fucking 53 Chevy and just walked uncannily alike, and a very dehydrated, dust in his eyes police officer who maybe was coming off a bender and was hung the fuck over, so he was already suffering, and he thought he saw in the silhouette of the sun, even though it was never said to be silhouetted by the sun, so I'm adding this, a full head spin that never actually happened, which is, in fact, with the exception of the mirrored walking, the only real paranormal aspect of this case.
Yeah,
That's a lot of factors that need to be.
There is because I mean there are 7 foot tall people, 100%.
There are,
yeah,
definitely.
So
and some of them have long hair, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I mean the sunglasses though. That's kind of. I mean, obviously the big fucking red flag here is the head 360. Clearly, the sunglasses though. I don't know, Chris. What's your take on this? What do you think? Like in like the real, like skeptically speaking.
I mean, it's real. This one's there's not much. It's like there's not a lot in between. It's like well,
it's kind of you're right. There really isn't like a hey. It could be this. Like,
I mean, I guess it is possible. I mean, I feel like the car was there. Those dudes were there, but. Then there's things like the ringing in the ears and like there's times where he felt nausea. I guess for in real world he could have had some weird fucking maybe epileptic type of episode or some weird brain some shit might have happened. Maybe some heat fucking thing happened and so maybe the paranormal things weren't the paranormal things that happened, but like the other things did happen. I suppose. I mean that's really the only answer, right? Otherwise all those things happen. I guess.
Either it's like heat stroke or fucking mirror men in the Outback, one of the two, I guess.
I mean, I don't know I don't know what else to say about that really, but
yeah. And the only really weird thing they did was just the head turn 360. They obviously moving in unison like that is fucking super bizarre. The glasses though, the sun shining off of them and making him like ringing in his head from the glasses is really weird. Is that like some strange alien tech or something? Like,
I mean, that's one way to look at it. I mean, or is it interdimensional tech or is it Fey tech?
There's zero. Oh, the tall fairies, the tallest fairy in the bunch.
I mean, Missing Time had long before aliens, co-opted that shit. That was fairy lore stuff.
Yeah,
and you could be, hours, days, weeks, years. You could Rip Van Winkle that shit and be back, in another lifetime, to meet your grandkids as full-on adults.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not as if ancient cultures don't have lore dealing with missing time. Identical looking things. Obviously, doppelgangers is a thing, but this isn't like a doppelganger situation. This isn't a person seeing their double or other people encountering somebody and being like, oh no, we totally hung out. And you're like, no, it wasn't me,
Right.
So I wouldn't even think about that. It could be, again, pedestrianly speaking, a severe dehydration, an inner ear infection. You see double. And when you see double, you're going to see the same person twice doing the exact same thing. But again, I feel like I'm really struggling to be skeptical on this one.
No,
because if it's not an outright lie, and that's always, on the table, like 7 inches left of the devil and right, next to diabetes. And if it's not, some really bizarre medical or can, this guy is just fucking high as shit. I mean, we don't know what Terrence's lifestyle was like. Assuming he's telling the truth as he recognizes it, there's really no way to explain this in traditional, normal terms. It's fucked up.
Oh no, for sure. And also too, being a police officer, he obviously didn't report this immediately because he was concerned for his reputation and his career. So he waited until after he was retired. Sorry, after he was retired to talk about it. So, which makes me think like, all right, he must have taken this clearly to fucking heart pretty bad if he's like, I can't talk about this with anybody because my job could be in the line, So,
and it's not even like you saw a UFO or something.
No,
that's difficult enough. Like people get stigmatized, the Socorro case, Lonnie Zamora, he ended up leaving the force. Lots of people end up leaving the force because of just UFOs. But that's just something that's a light in the sky. We can all get past it, maybe get a couple alien jokes. Someone throws some fucking, paper plate UFOs in your locker and you laugh and you move on. But seeing weird, head twisting super twins that are just dicking around in a disappearing Chevy, you're either nuts or you're lying or you're fucked up. And unfortunately, that's not the kind of thing that gets you a gun and a badge. And that is not the kind of thing that some of your peers, maybe if they're really cool and tolerant, but most of them are not. And you're not going to want that guy backing you up if you don't rely on them.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately he could have really had the only only reason I would have said a brain something is it seemed to get really fucked up after he saw a bunch of flashing lights. And,
right.
Right. And then a fucking weird thing in his ear, and then things got fucked up. And then he felt nauseous and sick and all fucked up. And that's really the only thing that would make me think it's a thing. But I mean, it's too bad. Like, if he didn't get checked out, maybe there's. All right, maybe he still has a thing.
Yeah,
so acknowledging that he could have had a medical condition and that made him misinterpret one dude as two dudes or two dudes as two dudes that are identical doing the same thing. And they just ran away. They were lucky to get away. They ran away, or maybe they even hopped back in the car and drove away. And he thought he closed his eyes for 3 seconds, but he actually passed out because of a medical condition. Totally recognizing that is a possibility. Let's just table that because there's no further we can go with that.
Right.
Yeah, no, sure.
Let's go into what other alternate explanations maybe more Fortean perhaps.
I mean, there's clearly no UFO. There's just a sweet, what is it, 57 Chevy?
Are you sure that wasn't the UFO?
Oh, like it was disguised. It was like that was their
memory?
Their mesmer. Okay. I see where you're going. Okay. Well, he didn't report seeing any UFOs. Just a sweet, Chevy.
You're right.
And
no, you're right. I'm
I'm
sort of being a dick and baiting you, but really, yes, you're right. There's no clear indication of alien interaction here.
But with the missing time, though, and the whole mirrored men thing, if this was something alien, or dimensional, and they were making you see what they wanted you to see, hitting you in the old psychic eye. They're tickling you.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, dude, they're tickling you.
The old psychic eye.
Oh, yeah, tickling the old psychic taint.
Nah, they're tickling you in the front while they're poking you in the back. That's what my wife says.
Okay.
That's how they get you.
Is that what she talks about, the psychic eye? No.
Yeah, the psychic eye. That's exactly what it is.
All right, so you've listened to more of this stuff, of this lore than I happen to have. Tell me, what are some of the theories out there about mirrored men?
I mean, it ranges from anything from paranormal to interdimensional to alien. There isn't really like a straight-on theory with them.
Well, I didn't figure, but I didn't know what was being speculated.
What's super weird about them is that it's not like anything, there's nothing to they just appear out of nowhere. Like you almost see it. A lot of it's like rural too.
They don't seem to have an agenda, but from what I've read, they're just walking in some isolated area.
No, there was a listener who reported, I believe, saying that he kind of got this mental look away, get out of here. Actually, Derek has a whole shirt about it over there in his store. It's almost like you kind of stumble upon them randomly and just see them. It's not like there's any, not like aliens where they come to abduct you or they're in your house. I'm pretty sure one of the first call-ins that he had, I could be mistaken. I think it was in a apartment complex that was getting built. One of those developments.
Sure.
It's one of the first spots that somebody saw these things.
So another thing
I'm guessing interdimensional with them for some reason though, just because it doesn't seem to be like an alien. And the weird, the mirrored movement is always fucking throws me off because that's almost like you're seeing them if you're seeing them on a different plane, a different vision,
or you're getting a glimpse into perhaps another dimension, literally, maybe, not just a parallel world, but another dimension. And because you can't perceive that dimension, it looks like a replication of the same thing over and over. Yeah. Because you can't perceive a fifth dimension, a sixth, whatever. And like I was about to say, I've also heard it associated, mostly I think because of their wardrobe, and they tend to be humanoid with Men in Black.
Yes,
even though it's odd,
sure.
Because they don't seem to be doing or fulfilling any of the functions that Men in Black fulfill, whether or not we're talking about the reanimated cadavers, the weird androids, the olive-skinned aliens, or the typical, OSI or, top secret, American government agents of yore.
I just went to Derek's shop, which is monstersamonguspodcast.com/shop.
Like his shit. Do it.
There you go. And the shirt actually is look away, walk away. That's what they say. Look away, walk away. So, yeah, I mean, these guys didn't have any weird mental things to say to Terry.
No.
But they definitely have some attributes of the mirrored men, including the missing time, which is interesting. And they had, I guess they had what? They were lanky dudes, were they dressed like the Ramones? Is it
dirty, ripped up jeans? They're dressed like guys that would be dicking around in an old car in the desert.
So like the Ramones minus the leather jackets.
Yeah, I don't know if it was t-shirts or button-down shirts.
Because they said something about like they were tucked weirdly in their belt or something like that, on like some weird pattern. So
right,
all right, weird.
In and out.
And again,
so
no,
go ahead.
They walked away. He pulled the gun. They walked to the side. They went up a hill, turned their head 360, and were like, "Fuck off, Terry."
No,
fuck off in the hell, Terrence. We're out of here.
That's something that can't be ignored. Let's just look at this objectively and pretend, we don't know anything about mirrored men or whatever else. These beings were not at all interested, evidently, in harming this officer.
No,
they seem to leave him be. Now, who knows what happened in those hours of missing time? And it could have been some insidious shit. I mean, we just don't know. But he was still put back where he was. He seemed to be unharmed, and he, got on with his life. He pulled the gun. He stopped them from having fun. I mean, I don't even know. Unless it's private property, is it technically illegal to do donuts in the desert? Like, he might have just been coming up and wanting to check on a heart attack guy, but I'm not even sure that that's illegal.
I mean, it's Australia. They have different rules and regulations than we here have in the United States.
It's probably illegal in America.
Damn America.
Yeah, they have dumb rules about everything. But
deserts of America.
The freedom-loving people of Australia are like fucking
donuts.
We have the right to do donuts.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
No, I know.
We're a formal penal colony. We fucking do what we want.
It could just be like like driving, like hazardous driving conditions or some such.
I'm sure he could have found a reason to ticket them. No doubt
for
about
sure.
it.
Yeah.
And then refusing to stop when commanded to. Obviously, that's infringing on the law. But they didn't try to hurt him, despite the fear he felt. But then again, that kind of instinctive fear, we've heard about that in so many different cases. It obviously happens in like supernatural cases, which is how I, address like ghosts and phantoms and goblins and shit like that. It sometimes happens in cryptozoological cases, also in ufological cases, but that usually is an indication, sort of like when you get that feeling of somebody looking at you and you look around and you catch someone staring, or that tingle in the back of your neck, that your instincts or your psychic abilities or whatever it may be is recognizing something dangerous. So even if they didn't actively attack him, his instincts were repeatedly, even though he fought the urge to run away multiple times, that these things were not safe. And they could be very hazardous to him and his health.
Yeah, his fight or flight was kicking in for sure.
Hardcore.
He was like, I'm fucking out. But yeah, obviously, he had him at gunpoint, so you really can't be out. They are the ones that were like, no, we're leaving. Thank you. Thank you, Officer Terrence. Thank you, Tear. We appreciate it. We're out. Tear.
And the car disappeared.
Yeah, that's the
bye Chevy 53.
That's the big dick kicker. Because at least if you had the car there, you're like, fuck you, I got the car. But
Dust for prints. You can see if there's alien DNA. Maybe.
Nah,
probably
dude,
not.
Now you just got missing time, and you're all freaked out and shit.
I mean,
do
they register their cars like over there? Do they have to have them like registered?
Yeah, I'm sure they must have like a license.
I would still be looking in nearby cities. I mean, there can't be that many 53 Chevys.
That's not
hanging the fuck out,
especially post 2001.
Yeah, something else. That's
right.
That's a good point, Chris. Yeah, that's not a normal car at all.
You see, that's the other thing too. There's a lot of blank spots. Like, obviously we got this third hand, from Beyond Creepy, who got it from Danny Kiss, I believe that was his name. And so we don't have any access to this guy. We don't know. But I would definitely do follow-ups like, did you look into it? Did you do exactly what Chris said? You're a police officer. You can, run bins or whatever. Right. Did you check to see who around here own these kinds of things? What properties there were? Because all we know was a tree-lined street. We don't know if there were houses on it, or we don't know, again, if it was in the middle of the red center, or if it was in a much more populated area. We don't know so many things that I definitely would have followed up on. I would have been very curious, because the thing that I'm curious about mostly, and whenever I've talked to eyewitnesses and interviewed them, second only, I suppose, to the actual paranormal event, which is obviously the core of our fascination, very, very close second for me is your reaction to it. Your how it changes your perspective, what your first instinct is to do. Is it fear? Is it to get away? Is it to turn a blind eye? Is it to ignore it and get on with your life? Is it to start digging into it? Because to me, how a human being reacts to the paranormal is every bit as significant as the paranormal event itself. And that seems to be an oft-neglected portion of paranormal investigation that I Keel and a few others were really good about looking deeper, but a lot of people miss that. And when we get these stories like this, we get the story, but we don't get like what Terrence was doing, what old Terror had to go by and how he dealt with it. And in his spare time, just like Chris said, you would definitely look for 53 Chevys. You would definitely look through the fucking, how many, criminal twins can there be, especially ones that are near 7 foot or over 7 foot? You look at, you ask if there's like some criminal element. You heard about some crime that happened fucking in Sydney. I'm just the first fucking Australian city that popped in my head. I don't fucking know. Perth. And yeah, Perth. And you're like, oh shit, man, with the giant twins of fucking Oslo. That's not in fucking Australia.
Oh,
not the point.
Yeah, wow.
Yes.
I knew that immediately.
You pulled a mark with that one.
That's just their nicknames.
Yeah.
Nicknames.
Yeah, the Oslo twins. So anyway, you'd look into those things, I would think, without ever tipping your hand that fucking they can spin their heads fully.
I mean, super tall twins with a 53 whatever Chevy, not harder. Honestly, I know it's a big country, but that's kind of, you can be like, oh, we could probably track this down, like you're saying, So
yeah.
So,
well,
it's something with the ability to mesmer and create the illusion that there's two when there's only one. Is it an inhuman entity that has capabilities beyond human physiology, like 360-degree rotation of the fucking head? Or are we dealing with something that's an anthropomorphic android that just doesn't have these sorts of restrictions? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it interdimensional? Is it fucking fairy tech, which I'm going with, because what the fuck? I've never done that before, I don't think. Fairy tech. I'm pretty sure it's fairy tech.
Okay.
Just because I can't figure out. Yeah, it's Fern Gully. It's Fern Gully engineering at its fucking finest.
Yeah, the Attack of Fern Gully.
Oh, dude,
movie, which I paid to see in the theater.
Damn it, the Attack of Fern Gully.
Thanks, my girlfriend at the time.
Jabba.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you on the whole fairy thing there, especially with the disappearance of everything at the end, where it's just like, zoom, you got missing time and everything. And yeah, there's a lot this fucker could fall under. So I'm gonna jump in your ferry boat. Your ferry.
There you go.
Let's
boat's
climb a
got
ferry
room for everybody. Chris, come
ferry
on
boat. Come on the boat.
Oh, I'm not against the ferry boat.
Huh?
The ferry.
The ferry.
The ferries.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
dude.
All right, Terry's ferries.
Terry's
ferry.
Oh man, we fucking nailed it.
And I just
there,
fucking
dude.
love the fact that no matter where you're from, no matter what your head can do, what you want to do when you're in a beat up old, I don't know if it's beat up, it might have been pristine, old fucking car is fucking do donuts in the desert. That just makes me happy. I don't care if you're from fairyland or outer space. You just, once you get a hold of that shit, you're like, oh, we're doing fucking donuts. Of course we're doing donuts.
They were just having fun. That's all they were doing. They weren't hurting no one. They were just doing some donuts, fucking rocking and rolling, being tall and creepy and shit.
Unless they were carving some sort of runes. Giant runes in
dirt
the
circles instead of crop circles.
Dude, dirt circles for life. This is how they open the gate for the rest of the fairies to come through. And then
that's what demons opening a portal to the hell?
Fuck
not
yeah,
hell.
Pazuzu.
The hell.
The hell.
Right, the hell.
Yeah, with the Pazuzu.
Yeah, we never once mentioned demons, but yeah, they're fucking, they're in a black fucking Chevy. They're fucking giants. They can twist their heads. Of course they're fucking demons. Jesus
fucking
Christ.
Desert demons.
Fuck fairy tech. Sorry, guys. Fairies been grounded.
Man, there it is. Thank you for joining us, Cryptonaut Podcast. Robert, we got some Patreon shout-outs to do.
Hell yeah, we do. My favorite part of the pod, Adam Durham.
Thank you, Adam.
Lake,
what up?
I love that. Just so simple.
Yeah, it's easy.
N45 Records. That's my label.
Up N45 Records.
Michael and Amy.
Thank you, Michael and Amy.
Jason.
Hell yeah, Jason.
Zeeth K92.
Thank you, Zeeth.
Flarf.
Yeah, Flarf. What's up?
Brilliant.
Yeah, okay.
William Thurman.
Thank you, William Thurman.
Inicia Blaine.
Thank you, Inicia.
Think I got it. If not, you know the deal.
Yeah, you know.
Rounding it out with Indrid Cold.
Indrid Cold, he's back,
wow,
our buddy.
in the flesh,
yeah,
maybe.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, is that the grinning man from Point Pleasant or the fucking can of coffee from?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ago?
Jesus, one of the two. One of the two.
And I'm down with either one. But thank you for supporting. Either way.
We appreciate that. The patreon.com/Cryptonaut Podcast, the $1 and the $5 tier. Tiers $1 gets you the one bonus audio and the shout out. $5 get you the 4 or more bonus audios in the shoutouts. Check that out there. Again, patreon.com/Cryptonaut Podcast. The Instagrams and the Facebooks and the Twitters and the social medias and the connections to the people and the listeners. We're there. We're doing it. Follow us on all the shits. We're mostly on Instagram, but, just look for the links in the description of the show. You can find us there. And DMs are open and whatnot, so be sure to check that out. Merch. Oh, shit. We have an announcement for merch.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we do.
We have new merch. We have we're calling it the Cryptonaut Podcast Anime Howler Space, as if we were in like an anime, right? Mm-hmm. What was the name of the anime that you actually based like that style off of?
If I know. Damn it. That was your job to remember.
No, it was the super cute cat one.
It's a blue cat, very blue, chubby, cherubic cat. It's a classic, I think, 80s anime. But I took that style and I drew us in that style.
It's super fun, too.
It's great.
So, and also, too, from our good buddy, Mr. Todd Purse, we have the Venezuelan Little Foots. So you can check 2 new designs dropped over there exclusively at CrowdMade. You can visit that shop by going to cryptonautmerch.com, and those t-shirts are there for you to check out and purchase and buy. And thank you to everyone that supports us by buying merch. We appreciate that. We also, of course, we have howlerspace.com. That brings you to our TeePublic shop. There's things over there you can check out as well, so you can do all of that over there. And I believe that's it for all of my announcements at the end of the show, the outro. So gentlemen, thank you so much. We're behind screens. We'll be back together soon enough, though. And thank you all for listening, tuning in weekly. We appreciate it, and we're talking to you soon.
Goodbye.
Indeed. So fun. Nice seeing you guys, even remotely.
Yeah, no, you're
on my computer monitor.
Your computer angle is interesting. It just gets better. I appreciate it.
And I apologize for my broken voice.
It's okay.
Pod.
We're gonna the listeners are gonna like do shit with crystals and healing powers and circles and lasers and magic.
I believe
maybe
all of that shit.
Sacrifices if we have to, and we're gonna heal you guys.
Positivity that I'm into. Thank you.
I don't know. Power
in
positivity, advance. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever. We need sacrifices and crystals, you fuck.
Okay, fair
all right?
enough.
Fine. We'll
sacrifice your crystal.
Fine. Bye.
Bye.
God damn.